Welcome back, everyone, to the Year of the Duck. I've been waiting for this moment for over 5 years, and now it's finally here. Nuke Duck and Schalke are taking over the EUL.
I don't really know what that was, but we had to cut it short. It's out of control. First, Trevor has to get dragged off the stage because he's going mental with his quick stats. Now, Deficio is obsessed with the Year of the Duck. Don't you guys run out of it.
Where did Deficio go? Yeah, he was right here.
You guys please stay calm and don't go mental on me and help me in the...
I'll be your rock, Shocks.
Okay, you guys will be my rocks. Good. Then let's talk about the Year of the Duck because it has been put on hold indefinitely. Hopefully not. Tonight, Schalke 04 go up against G2 Esports. And yes, we have to bring it up. This is a very important weekend for Nuke Duck and for Schalke 04. They are playing both Fnatic and G2. And for them, it's really showing that they can beat a top team, and it didn't work out yesterday.
Yeah, right now they're sort of the gatekeepers of the playoff entry, sitting around that 4th to 6th place spot where they can beat all the teams underneath them. They'll do it pretty convincingly so, but then they really do struggle against the teams ahead of them, the Misfits, the G2s, the Fnatics of the world.
They are 5-0 versus the teams that are below them in the standings, but you got to think further because once if you arrive in playoffs, you're not going to get very far if you don't beat the teams above you. So yesterday, RNA, we were talking about Nuke Duck versus Caps a lot. What exactly happened?
I mean, he got literally camped. Like from level 1, we were explaining before with Deficio how level 1, Hilisan came to mid lane, level 2, Broxa went to mid lane, level 6, the first time that actually Nuke Duck went aggressive into Caps, it was Broxa waiting with the ultimate, killing him again. So I think he didn't enjoy that much that
So when it comes to games like that, it's like when Odawamne got camped, how much can you really fault Nuke Duck for that scenario?
I mean, it feels like you almost have to like write it off after the first 5 minutes. Like, of course, it's a tough position to be put in, and maybe you should expect a Shen to be in your lane at level 1. But like, how do you actually tell a player to do that? You really can't. So it was just a really good setup from Fnatic, I feel.
I mean, the thing is, if you know that Nuke Duck is your play to watch, the play to carry the team, obviously level 1 you have to put vision around him, and in the moment that Sen just sweep that and kill it, then at least Nuke Duck know that Sen is around here, so he has to play more defensive than he played level 1. That's at least the start to go with this, because they have to protect Nuke Duck. Well, if Nuke Duck goes ahead in early game, that's going to do good for them.
And that's why we're looking at the win conditions here for Schalke, exactly as you said, Alvar. Protect Nuke Duck, because if this is the guy that is bringing home the bacon and that is your main carry, make sure he doesn't die fighting.
Yeah, it's the Year of the Duck, so we have to protect him. we obviously have to protect
So
Nuke Duck.
Alvar, then tell me, what is Amazing's role in all of that?
I think Amazing has to put a lot of input in the early game. Like, he has to do something early game, something that helps the team. Other than ganking mid lane or protecting mid lane, he also had to help the side lanes to do something. Because I think if Amazing, actually can help bot lane or top lane to be ahead, they have a net to beat almost every single team. But if Amazing, early game, he struggles, he fails like he did yesterday versus Fnatic, he dies level 3, giving double buff versus Caps, I don't think that's how Schalke can beat the top team.
And I think the biggest difference for me in Schalke's games is that you sometimes have an Amazing that shows up and is everywhere. He's getting kill after kill after kill, working very well with Vander to find roams around the map. But then there are a lot of other games where he either makes a mistake early on and then sort of disappears from the rest of the map, or just never even makes a play in the first place.
In all honesty, we've also seen that from Jankos, a bit of an up and down on G2. But yesterday, Jankos and his mid-jungle synergy, actually his jungle all over the map was great. He showed up versus Splice, and the entirety of G2 took down Splice in one of the most convincing wins I've seen from them in the last couple of weeks. What was so good about them?
I mean, it was just Jankos on the Taliyah pick. He got that very early on in the draft, and then never left top lane. He didn't let Odwamne play League of Legends. Very similar to how Nuke Duck felt on that day. Odwamne had the same raw end of the deal, and it was all because of early aggressive playmaking and camping from Jankos.
I think from G2 it's important that they have to do a good draft. Because Taliyah is obviously a key point for them, is the best early game jungle, the jungle that can camp any single lane and make it ahead. And this is what Jankos did yesterday. Last week, Jankos played twice Kindred, and he didn't perform that well. He didn't put any lane ahead, his team fights were questionable, and he didn't do anything, let's not gonna say anything right, but he didn't do that much for his team. So this week, he played the first game Taliyah, I have to see what he's going to pick on second game, because I don't think Kindred is the champion to work with him. I think he should go more into something like Trundle that can help his lanes early game and just wait for perks and Wonder to be really strong on the game.
Yeah, and I think we touched on a little bit yesterday too, where we need some more utility to be brought from this team in the draft. It's important that you don't just have 5 carries up and down in your roster. If you want to win a game, you have to be able to build a little bit more coherent of a team composition, and maybe that's with Jankos on something like that Trundle or Sejuani.
Yeah, I mean, I talked yesterday with Perks saying like, I don't like the Lucian. He was like, nah, Lucian wasn't a problem. And then I said like, what about Urgot? And then he's still laughing.
Yeah.
So I guess
So if we see Urgot, it's your fault.
No, if I see Urgot, I literally, I'm going to leave these states and I'm not going to cast any more
because you hated
post
it
game.
from Wonder.
I really hate it. It's a champion, so unidimensional. Like, he can only try to crush the lane. And if you fall early game, you're down.
Yeah.
Like, you're really down.
I'm sorry, I don't want to go into a black hole talking about Urgot. Let's focus in on the matchup. Maybe we see it again just to prove you wrong, but it is a very incredibly important game. Rather, G2 Esports, after Rift Rivals, they fell a bit down. They were 1-3, and they're looking to get back up there because they want to be in top form when they get to playoffs. And on the other side, Schalke just want to get to playoffs, and they need to start beating these top teams.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a different story for the two teams because G2 specifically, they want to have a bye in the first round of playoffs. They don't want to let Misfits and Fnatic get that extra rest, that extra scouting time against the teams they're playing against. Whereas for Schalke, it is very much about actually making sure, securing the fact that they get into playoffs, which right now looks like they're in a comfortable position for, but you never want to, slow down in the middle of the season, have that lull where you drop a few games and all of a sudden have to fight really hard in the last few
Definitely
weeks.
so. Let's see if G2 can close out the week with a win as we leave it to our casters.
Thank you, Shox, and good evening, everyone. I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain here with our superior analyst who's getting wiser in his old age. It's Martin Deficio-Lunga.
They killed my Nuke Dog segment.
Yeah.
I spent a week preparing that. I spent like an hour recording it multiple times because I messed up so often, and they cut it after 10 seconds.
And they put the Vedius thing in VediCheck as well, so it's obvious who the favored color caster is now, Deficio.
Yeah, it's actually getting really annoying that they won't let me hype Schalke anymore. Well, if they beat G2, it's back on the menu.
Okay, but only if they beat G2, because
Yes.
yesterday against Fnatic, they did not look strong at all. They're on the blue side this game, they get rid of the Heimerdinger and the Brand, and G2 will take away the Taliyah and the Nocturne.
This is like the most classic thing with Yarnan and all the different mages he's playing in the bottom lane. 2 bans against him. That's a lot being spent on a player that obviously is important in the current meta, but not really the member you're looking to play around if you are G2 Esports. No first pick Aatrox for Schalke. They don't want to be forced to grabbing it. Taliyah was also banned in this one. That's an Alistar first pick. Interesting choice.
Yeah, we have seen Alistar played as part of a funnel composition by Amazing before. Can, of course, go down to Vander in the bottom lane as well, with funnel being a little bit less favorable now on patch 8.14.
It definitely should be bottom. They're guaranteeing themselves engage. Rakan was banned away, which is one of the other big engage supports, and it is a big pick for Wadid. But first pick is still interesting. I just want to see what happens in the rest of the draft here around the Alistar pick specifically. Why was it necessary to grab it this early? It's not a pick that we see in Europe taken in the first rotation all the time.
So it doesn't spell something for certain. It's a pick that we don't see that often as first pick. Could be a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, it could be. It's guaranteed engage, which is something they wanted for Vander. That's what it tells me, and they want to take it away from Wadid as well. Vladimir is going to be bot lane most likely. I want to say bot, of course, can go to multiple lanes still. Ryze, funny enough, actually, just when this meta started and we got back into competitive play after MSI, we had Ryze versus Vladimir very often in the bot lane. Vlad got picked early, then Ryze got picked against the Vlad. It is a fairly even matchup between them, but it has been upset playing the Ryze lately.
Yeah, it's something we saw him play yesterday against Fnatic. Didn't really have the chance to perform on it at all because of how strong Fnatic were in the early game. I'm interested that Zoe has slipped so far through the pick and ban phase here. Not even being picked up in the first phase. Instead, Perks will get Yasuo for himself.
So it's not going to be Alistar Yasuo on the side of Schalke. Of course, they have the Gragas already to set up. Trundle ban most likely going to show on the side of Schalke, just because you don't want to give Gragas, Trundle, and Yasuo as a fantastic trio. You can always force good ultis from him. Poppy is the main pick for Vizicachi. His go-to other choices have been Mundo and Cho'Gath. He's one of the guys still grabbing the Cho'Gath top lane. Not always able to do a whole lot with it, but it is still one of their safer tanks for laning phase.
And there is the Trundle ban that you talked about. G2 won't get their hands on that this game. Still a world of opportunity here. You look at the G2 Esports draft and you say that Gragas could go towards the jungle if they wanted it to, could be top as well. The other two slightly more locked in picks.
And there's still a world where G2 just takes the Mundo, puts Gragas jungle, Vladimir down bot lane. Because Mundo is the only remaining of the very standard, you know, blind pickable tanks. I guess you can make an argument for Ornn, but we still see a lot of teams actually not favor him, at least not as a high priority pick anymore. So the Mundo in itself, because Mundo would also work fine against Gragas plus Vlad on G2's lineup. I just want to see what they want to do. Obviously, you can last pick for Wonder. You have a player who can grab any sort of carry top lane and try and dominate. That is what they decide to do. Save last pick for your top laner. Makes a lot of sense. Will we just get Mundo locked in here for Chachi then?
That's a possibility.
That's not a Mundo.
That's definitely not a Mundo. That is a Zed. And is another new champion here for Nukeduck in the middle lane. Oh yeah, the year of the duck.
If he
the hype
carries
train's back on the rails.
If he carries, that's how you get the hype train back against most likely the Yasuo pick for perks. At least that seems to be the initial intention. Oh, Chachi not on a tank top lane. He's actually on a carry. He gets to play League of Legends today.
We have to break down this draft at some point. I want to know how all of these champions work together. It looks like it is going to be the Mundo, or at least a tank in the top lane for G2 into that Rumble pick. But Schalke's draft is fascinating.
It is actually so cool to see this team try something unique now, try something different. More focus on aggressive lanes, especially with the Zed and the Rumble for a guy who's only been playing tanks top lane, and then Nukeduck, one of these guys who's played Zed since he became a professional player in 2013. When I played against him back then, everyone would grab Zed whenever they could, and the really good mid laners, they could hard carry the game 1v9. And Nukeduck, he was one of them. He was one of the best assassin players we had. It's obviously a long time ago, but this Zed pick, whenever I see it, I always tell myself, pro play? Nah, it's not going to be great. Enemy team is going to get defensive items. Vladimir can pool. You have, you know, things like a Mundo and Gragas you can't really kill. But if a Zed snowballs, professional game or not, he can still take care of all these squishy champs like a Yasuo.
Nukeduck has an exactly 50% win ratio on the Zed across the course of his professional career. 4 wins, 4 losses. He'll be looking to up that a little bit in this game against G2. A big game for both these teams as well.
Oh,
Schalke
baby.
sitting at 6 and 5, looking to catch up with Vitality, who are now at that 7 and 5 mark. G2, they win here. They're still even with Fnatic, so both those teams competing for 2nd to 4th spot.
I mean, a lot of the matchups we have today are so crucial for the actual playoff standing because teams right next to each other are playing against each other here. Earlier we had Giants versus Unicorns, big game there. Rocket Vitality, game 1. If you missed that one, definitely go rewatch it. This game, however, Schalke, they're gambling. They're saying, we believe we can execute this comp here with multiple carries. Vander and Amazing are the 2 tanks in the front, but we're all going to be looking at that Zed in the mid lane.
I kind of hate the fact he picked Zed because it means you can talk about the year of the Nukeduck even more.
Not yet!
I feel like at some point we're going to have that technical difficulties screen pop up for us again.
We are not going to say that title until he carries this game.
Okay, so what do we call it before then?
Nukeduck.
Just Nukeduck.
That's his name.
There's no honorific.
No.
Sir Nukeduck. Lord Duckington of the Nukes.
That one is pretty good too.
Yeah?
If you can yell that in a team fight, that's impressive. Let's see what happens in this game, because Schalke is actually setting up with a composition where you have a real split pusher who's not going to be that great in team fights, and we don't see that super often anymore. I think most drafts are focused around having strong 5v5s at some point in the game. Obviously, the other 4 champions are going to be good there, but the Zed specifically, once you reach the late game and people have tanky items, Knight's Vow, Locket, these kind of things, it gets so difficult for Zed to suddenly one-shot anyone. We have to remember when he jumps in, there is time to CC him and just burst him down before he can actually jump back out.
So do G2 then have the tools to CC him? You've got Bone Skewer from Woodid,
Yeah,
you've got Yankos as well with the explosive cast and the body slam, but apart from that, you don't actually have that much CC unless Perks has prepped that Steel Tempest Tornado.
Well, we have to see if that's enough then for G2. There is tools definitely on their side, but I think mainly just Wonder also grabbing the Mundo. He saw the Rumble, so he can go for Spirit Visage early game, and then he can get tanky items potentially against Nukeduck later, but if you look at the mixed damage on Schalke side, like that's kind of the idea around early picking Rise, then grabbing Rumble as well, as you have enough magic damage to force the enemy team to not just stack armor, which means Nukeduck and his lethality build is obviously going to be fairly effective. Because if you do just draft, or sorry, if you just go for magic resist early, Nukeduck's going to show up level 6, level 11, and he's going to find targets with very low amounts of armor. So there's definitely some reasons behind grabbing the Zed here. It is still such a risk. It's not a pick we see in the meta very often.
Putting a lot of their eggs into that Nukeduck basket, but have different ways to play out the game if they need to. Perks has picked up the S04 for the first time this split as well. One of those key European mid laners that we talk so often about. Now, Jankos and Chachi are going to meet up here in the jungle. Amazing's coming on his way up as well. Jankos starts up on the Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, Jankos took the bottom one first and then walked straight through mid, so they're trying to just get double Rift Scuttle here to try and track where Amazing is on the map and get a bit of an experience advantage. Amazing is still around mid.
There's a little bit of an engage there from Nukeduck mid on towards Perks just to get a bit of damage down, but the Scuttle Crab did go across to Jankos.
Also got to look at Perks here. He's running Cleanse because there's a Sejuani on the other side. He feels like he needs it against Amazing's level 6, but that means there's no defensive summoner that works against the Zed specifically. Sure, you can get rid of a little bit of the damage, but Perks is not really going to be using that against Nukeduck specifically. I just want to see also when they start 1v1ing each other. Because there's going to be so many things in terms of win walls. Can you actually block the ZQ when he tries to all-in you? That is a lot of damage suddenly being removed. Perks, we know if he actually gets to 2 items, within a few seconds he's poking down a Zed very quickly. But Nukeduck always has the option of just ulting, and he will have all-in potential. Let's see what happens spot side. Vander.
Gonna be able to land that stun. Doesn't quite get it off. Woodid pulls him back in. The stun comes out, and now Upset gets a bit more damage down, but low on mana. Will just retreat back towards his tower. And Amazing did manage to steal away the red buff here, so although he lost the 2 early scuttles, gets himself a red buff and stops Jankos from truly outscaling that hard.
I feel like every single lane, except for top right now, is actually pretty cool. Bot side as well, 2 supports that can engage against each other. Vander and Upset has also looked for fights often. Also died sometimes.
Yeah,
they did it, but they're not afraid of actually trying to all in. Well, mid, Nukeduck versus Perks, match of the week. Not really, but it is now.
You're just making anything that has Schalke in it. You're just like, yeah, this is match of the week. It's the best game ever.
It's match of the Saturday.
Okay, that was actually Vitality Roccat, though. That was an incredible match earlier on.
Remaining match of the Saturday.
It's match of the Saturday that started after 8 p.m.
There you go.
Central European summer time. Jankos coming down towards this bottom lane as Upset and Vander stepped up here. Sanguine Pool used early. Vander gets the knock-up to stop Woodid. Bone Skew Up blocked as well because it cancels that channel out. And it's good play from Vander. Little bit of cowbell.
Why not? You have to do it.
It's the best feeling when you stop a ganking in its tracks and you can just spam dance, spam the cowbell out afterwards. I want to come back to one of the key reasons that G2 were actually able to take the win against Splice yesterday, and one of the reasons they are at this 8-3 scoreline. That's Jankos.
Oh yeah.
He had an incredible game yesterday on the Talia. This game has been hampered a little bit by the fact Amazing was able to steal away his red buff, but still looking at him to be one of the key men here for G2.
100%. When you have complete standard comps, which is now what we're going to get from G2 in almost every single game they play, the jungler is so crucial in an early game meta because he's the one dictating where we're making the plays. Jankos on that Talia was fantastic. Jankos on Kindred a week ago was not great, and it was a big change for them. Let's see what happens here. Vander's on his way. Jankos, we're praising you.
We did his roamed in, but he gets knocked up straight away. Jankos ignited. Nukeduck looking for the kill. The flash. The death mark. Schalke get first blood. The year of the Nukeduck is back, baby.
That's a little bit early, but I blame you for that one. You started praising Jankos.
The hour of the Nukeduck is back.
You got me to praise Jankos, and then he walks into the river, not respecting the fact that Van had already left the bot lane, and then you get caught out. That's now first blood for Nukeduck. He already sits on the first serrated Dirk. Medic, I see you laughing there. You instantly pulled the trigger on the title. We have to wait a little bit longer.
We still got the Lord Duck of Nukington in our back pocket if we need to elevate his title. Upset's getting a bit of damage down towards this bottom lane as well. And Upset and Vander have done a good job of keeping this bottom lane in check of Hjanen and Widid.
I just checked here on games. Oh, never mind, they're fighting.
Fast breath comes out.
He's fine, he's fine.
Yeah.
You can
You
always
pulled the trigger too quickly then.
always try and disengage there, but I was just checking Games of Legends for like professional Z games here in the summer split across multiple regions, all the major ones around the world. Only once in a major region, it was in China it got picked, and that's it. So Nukdog is now trying to make it happen. This is obviously Jankos not respecting that the enemy support has moved, and Nukdog has to flash for it, but pretty easy first blood for him, and smells like a Ghost Blade, Dusk Blade as well. I want to see if he's going Storm Razor, trying to get that guaranteed crit when he does go in, because that's obviously a massive chunk of damage combined with your ulti.
And the Dusk Blade.
And the Dusk Blade.
Why pretty much one-shot any squishy members on the enemy team, but G2 don't actually have that many squishy members.
It's his perks. He's gonna kill perks every single time. I think actually also from knowing Nukdog, like he's very calculated in his team fights. There's a high chance we're going to see Schalke full-on engage with the Alistar Sejuani, Rumble to come down, and Nukdog does not jump in instantly. Kind of hovering around in the flank. The moment Hjanen pulls and he's back from the pool, suddenly he's a target you can go for. You can also just use the Z with the extra damage against the low HP target to wait for a tank to drop down, and then you can all-in this guy. Like, you don't have to necessarily try and kill perks every fight, because there's not that traditional AD carry, which again makes the Z pick so interesting in this situation. And Nukdog showing a lot of confidence after yesterday when he was shut down by Fnatic.
Something I love about the Schalke G2 matchup is you always know you're going to get something interesting in the mid lane. I remember last split we cast them playing LeBlanc against Zoe, and both of them were just outplaying each other left, right, and center. I'm looking forward to more of that today. Once again, Jankos goes in, gets the explosive cast knockback here. Widid on his way up. Perks has to flash. Amazing has joined the fray as well. It's a 4v4 brawl. Upset there. Widid will be able to get away for the moment, but Amazing's on the chase. The Realm Warp as well comes in just to bring Amazing closer. Widid pretty much sacrificed by his team here. Does have the flash, but straight into the path of the prison. And Upset gets second kill of the game.
Second time it's Jankos in that river looking for something. First time he dies for it. Second time he ults hoping Perks is ready to ult. Oh, all in?
All in the mid lane as well, but Perks, oh, Deathmark comes out. Perks trying to dodge around.
He can't hit him.
Doesn't get the final shuriken, blocked by the wind wall.
Yeah, Perks was holding on to the wind wall, waiting for the animation from Nukdog, but all Nukdog needed there was to get in range for an auto attack, and he would have gotten so much more damage onto Perks, but he could not close the gap. Jankos here, he wants to ult Upset so Perks can go for him, but Perks is already taking damage and couldn't actually do anything in time, and now Jankos kind of baited the rest of his team into a fight they're not looking to take. The Yasuo needs items way more than the Zed when it comes to dealing damage here in this early game.
That's a bad flash from Widid as well.
Yeah.
Never flash in a straight line against someone that throws something in a straight line. It's one of the biggest lessons you learn in League of Legends. Talk about items though, Deficio. Duskblade already complete on Nukdog.
He can just all in Perks. Cleanse was used, as we talked about much earlier, just against the Ignite from Nukdog, and that's it. It's really not useful for anything else in the pure 1v1. It's here to block the engage from Amazing. I think Perks might actually die in the next 1 or 2 minutes once Nukdog's ulti is ready. I'm just going to check the cooldown on it right now. That
Probably
is
about 30 seconds left, I'd say.
35 seconds. Should we make a quick prediction here? Perks will die when Nukdog's ult is ready. I give Nukdog 10 seconds and he kills Perks.
10 seconds. Okay, I was going to go a minute.
No, 10 seconds from when the ult is ready.
Okay, so we're looking at 11:10 is the latest that he's had to kill Perks by.
Yeah.
Because then it will be up. Okay, we'll keep you to that one.
Quick prediction.
Jankos is up in the top lane here trying to make something happen somewhere else on the map, but Amazing's just going to force him away. Chachi on his way as well. There's the equalizer. The stun lock on Jankos is effective, and he gets burned to a crisp by Chachi and Amazing, and now Wonder's not in the best of spots either. Nukdog on his way up.
He's gonna
Maybe
kill
looking
Wonder
for the tower
instead.
dive. He's left. You're good. You've got 10 seconds left, Deficio.
He needs to hurry. Get in there, Nukdog.
9.
Nah, Perks. Look at Perks trying
7.
to... Perks is scared.
6, 5, 4.
It's not gonna happen.
3, 2, 1.
Boo, he's at his turret.
Once again, you're wrong.
He's
Deficio.
at his
Once
turret.
again, you're wrong.
Had Perks, tried to 1v1 him, I would have been right.
I mean, sure, but he didn't. And you predicted that he would, and you did not predict this fight in the bottom lane either. Upset, Hemo played down. Hjanen flashes the wall and secures G2's first kill of the game.
So right now, Jankos is struggling, but G2's bottom lane is actually picking up a kill. Very big here for them. Hjanen takes the Vladimir. Not often he's playing the all-in aggressive mages. He's mainly preferred the push, you know, the big pokey champs. The Vladimir here with the Pike, important for them. They actually get an advantage somewhere because they're not winning mid at the moment, and they're definitely not winning the jungle matchup.
G2 falling behind in the early game here to Schalke. A lot of that on the back of Jankos.
Exactly, and we have to highlight that the analysts that's coming into the game, they looked at potential like ways Schalke can win this, and they said proactive early game. That's important from Amazing. He's been around, he's been ganking multiple lanes. Bot lane, upset that's greedy, very greedy. He walks in without his support there early. He actually gets hooked, takes the trade, and then both players have been practicing the flash.
Yeah, they also flashed the angle, so it's not the hardest flash.
It is true, I've still failed that one.
Does not surprise me. Vander roaming up towards the mid lane here was spotted out by Jankos, but we do have to give praise to Amazing, as you say, because of how proactive he's been in this early game. He's sitting around that mid lane. Wonder trading into Chachi here. Equalizer comes down from it's Chachi. That's not the best positioned Equalizer I have ever seen.
Put down the red carpet for his own minions.
Yeah.
Makes them feel important.
Hey, you guys.
Go in there and die. That's what we need from you. They might actually just gank him again. Amazing is still around topside. Nukdog just wants to 1v1 someone, but Perkz pushes and leaves every single time. Big item difference. Zeal and tier 2 boots from Perkz versus the Duskblade for Nukdog.
Both junglers waiting around the corner. Amazing, looking for the engage opportunities there. Still Tempest used. Nukdog jumped forward with a Living Shadow, but cannot quite find the opportune moment to go any deeper.
I want to see also the build from Perkz here. Phantom Dancer first, yes, and then we see a lot of Yasuo players go for a second defensive item and not the Eye-Edge Rush, because it is still so expensive. You know, Sterix, a GA, something like that. Right now, he's just trying to farm as much as he can and make sure Nukdog is never in a situation to actually try and all-in him and force him out of lane. So Perkz is doing this really well right now. Doing well in CS. Yep. This is despite enemy mid laner getting a first blood.
So if you're Schalke in this situation, you see that Perkz is playing safe, you can't really find an easy gank onto him, you've got this item lead on your Zed. Where's your next opportunity? Do you look at making him split push this early on, or do you need to get him a bit more snowball?
I mean, you have 4 other members right now, you can just play around. You don't have to go to Nukdog's lane at the moment. What Amazing is doing is great. Top lane, Mundo is not going to be able to do a whole lot against this siege, and you can get the first turret blood there, and not just try and hard camp the mid lane where Perkz is being defensive and does bring cleanse against Amazing. So I like this play here. I think Visichachi and Amazing getting that turret is a big deal for Schalke. Obviously a bit of a problem that Yanin got his spellbind the bot lane. Shaping up to be a very, very fun early game. Early and mid game, I think I should highlight, as we kind of passed the early game.
I mean, there's so much power for Schalke in the mid game as well, and even for G2, you know, as soon as you get Spellbind or Rabadon's Death Cap on towards the Vladimir, you can do a lot of work. Perkz did jump in onto Amazing here, but you can just assault his way over that wall, and now Schalke group up as 5 to try and take down this mid lane tower. No ult on Perkz, remember that. Schalke do not want to go any deeper. The pull back on Chachi. Hits with the knockup as well. Wonder not going to be able to get too much more out of this.
Yeah, Perkz all being on cooldown there was important. Chachi had no flash, going in!
Blank from Nukdog straight onto Jankos, gets the death mark down, but he hasn't quite got the damage. The Equalizer will tick, and Nukdog will get the final blow, and now Schalke can look to keep pushing in this mid lane if they want.
There is so much damage on the side of Schalke when they find isolated targets. Vander, good engage. First pick, Alistar. Finds Jankos dead for the 3rd time. Rough game for him, often being caught out, and this was another one. Schalke finding good advantages. Perkz got his Phantom Dancer for now, but still is Nukdog almost completing Ghostblade.
It's only the 3rd time as well that G2 have been at a deficit at the 15-minute mark. They have a 50% win rate when they are, well, in this split, obviously, across the course of their careers. Probably been behind a little bit more than that, but 50% win rate when they're behind at 15, so Schalke will be pretty thankful for those odds, I'm sure.
It is very true.
Yeah.
And now we have Schalke not getting stomped by a top team in the early game, unlike yesterday. You know what's really good as a team? It's when you don't get stomped in the early game.
I can just sense the desire, the tip of your tongue saying, "Year of Nukdog."
No, you keep saying
Schalke
it.
hype train.
Stop saying it. Save it for later.
He's gonna blurt it out later.
Let's watch the fight here. No ult from Perkz. Chachi stays alive because of it. And Jankos on the side. He knows he's spotted by these wards here. Nukdog is hiding in the brush. And that's when the level 8 Gragas gets surprised. Like he did what he could with the body slam. But the moment you get caught out, you will die against all these ultras. And right now, if we go back to live, you will start seeing the split push from Schalke. Zed is in that bottom lane. He's constantly looking to just sit in a side lane, secure the 1v1 advantage, and then go and join the team after. It will be tough for Charity to do the same. Mundo against a Rumble will be stronger in 1v1. Like, Mundo will just not be able to die against Visichachi. But at least they have the winning lane right now with Nuke Duck. And the lethality build, Perks is currently sitting on, I believe, around 70 armor. Yeah, 75 armor against Nuke Duck.
It's not going to be enough to keep himself alive if Nuke Duck goes in with the death mark. And as much as we talk about how Nuke Duck is the main carry for Schalke, his hype train has been a little bit delayed, hasn't left the station as much as we would have liked it to after the performance against Fnatic yesterday.
Not his fault. I blame the engineers.
Okay.
They messed up the train, they left him alone, everything got shut down, people destroyed it left and right. He wanted to take off, but he was not allowed to do it.
If a train's taking off, that's a very different mode of transport to what I'm used to.
Hey,
Space trains.
In Denmark, we got crazy trains, man. Flying everywhere.
$3,000 gold lead now for Schalke. I just wanted to let that one sit for a moment.
It's great. Yeah. Oh, Perks. What does he want to do?
He wants to get kills, Deficio. He's going to jump onto Amazing for the moment. What did was around the corner as well. Teleport coming in from Schalke towards that mid lane to keep it protected. That's Upset joining the party. And G2 will back away once again. It is a 3,000 gold lead for Schalke at the 18-minute mark. And a lot of that sits on Nuke Duck. He's 1,000 gold ahead. And a bit of it in the bottom lane as well.
I like to see this, though. I notice how they've all spent their gold, except for just Chachi in this one case, and they're already back on the map. It's good reset, like, they go back to base when they've pushed out lanes, so that means G2 are not getting anything while you're recalling, and that's something pro teams look at a lot. Like, what can we do when the enemy team's going back to base to spend the gold? Can we take a turret? Can we grab Drake? Deep vision? G2 only got a couple of wards on the top side jungler. That's it. So right now, Schalke have the map control. They're using the Z in the bottom lane with the Ghostblade completed. Looks like Perks is going for a second item that is going to be defensive. Wadid is caught out.
Yeah, got spotted out here. The Arctic Assault into the stun lock, and Vander comes in from the side as well. Great play from Schalke.
And this is... Oh, wait. Let's see what happens to Nuke Duck. I think he's okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
So this is why it's important to highlight how Schalke managed to go back to base without giving up anything on the map and return, because then when Wadid is trying to make a play where he gets some deep vision, Schalke is there to punish him instantly. Very greedy play from him, and I like the shot calling from this team. It's one of the big games for them. If they can beat some of the top 3 teams, they can actually make a case for being a real contender here in playoffs.
Yeah, because when they went 4-0 in the last couple of weeks, we were saying they're looking good, but we have to temper our
bottom
hype
teams,
because it's against bottom teams. Yesterday against Fnatic, they were definitely proven perhaps slightly to be an imposter, but now their performance against G2 in this early game is looking very clean. They seem to have a very obvious game plan, and they're sticking to it.
I'm still just waiting for G2 scaling.
Huh?
Yankees getting all in.
Knock up from a Yankers will knock him back, but that's a lot of damage from Nuke Duck, and that's exactly what you want to see.
G2 Esports, man, they're so split up on the map. Whenever someone walks into the river, the rest of the team is far away. They're greeting for a ward in the enemy jungle, a Rift Scuttler, and they're getting punished by Schalke, who's controlling the map in all 3 lanes, and they're controlling the river themselves. So it's great play from Schalke, and it's just greedy moves from G2 Esports. They have the scaling. They just want to get to a late game team fight with multiple tanks, you know, a Yasuo actually sitting on 2 completed items with the IH, so you have proper damage. Until they get there, it's Schalke's game. They're the ones that control. They have the damage. They can engage onto you. And obviously when you do peek into the river, it's because you need some sort of information on what's going on. But then you need to move in multiple players, so you can actually help each other and not just send in one guy on his own, because then a Zed will just kill you.
Especially when you've gone double no magic mantle and Mercury treads. You're not going to survive against a Zed who's got his lethality items on board for very long at all. Nuke Duck now has a Phage as well, hasn't even leveled up his boots, just accepting that he needs that extra damage. And I'm interested to see Amazing going for the Zeke's Convergence here. I think he's put that on Nuke Duck, so just buffing up his auto attacks whenever that Glacial Prism comes out.
It is definitely put on Nuke Duck. Everything invested into the Zed for now. We mentioned earlier how with the Rise and the Rumble, Schalke are forcing G2 to respect the magic damage. They can't just stack armor against Nuke Duck.
But having no armor when Nuke Duck is 3-0.
Also a problem, but you only have that much gold. Notice how Yankers are not getting camps in his own jungle very often because Schalke's, they're in there. This is how you execute split push comps. Chachi leaves the bottom side knowing I'm not the split pusher here, I just push and roam with the Rumble, and then they start playing around mid and top. So they identify, okay, our strongest lane, that's the Z. So we need vision around Z. We need to always have members around him. So if a fight breaks out, we're here. We can actually fight. And that forces Perkz to play defensive every single time. And that's how you get control of a lane. And then also the jungle right next to it. And that's exactly what they're doing.
G2 are trying to see if they can catch out Nukeduck up towards this top side, but Schalke gain the vision advantage, bring 3 members up towards it, make it a lot more difficult for G2 to actually defend effectively. Just trying to pull G2 around the map a little bit. You can see no vision at all for our former finalists.
I feel a little bit bad for Yanin. Like, he's just farming up. He's almost completing death cap. Like, he's like, guys, I just want to fight someone, but he's not allowed to get in a team fight yet. Schalke are just moving around the map, not engaging 5 versus 5, which is the win condition for G2 Esports. As long as they can keep the map split, which is much easier to do the first 25 minutes and much harder to do the last part of the game, because that's when you typically have to group at some point, even Baron or when you're trying to get into the base. And that's where G2 can still try and get back in the game. They just need key items, death cap, eye edge, armor on some of the tanks.
And they're starting to get that on towards Wonder. It is a slight concern if you're a Schalke fan, because we have seen them get into these leads before. Spring Split, they were very good at getting an early game lead, managing to be ahead at, say, the 25-minute mark or so, and then couldn't close out games. So I'm very intent on the next 10 minutes how Schalke play.
So we just keep tracking everything they're doing. Chachi bottom side with teleport. Okay, that's correct. You have 3 members mid, support, jungle, and your marksman, AD carry, bot laner, Rise in this case. Not sure why I call them marksman. They're the ones pushing in this lane, and then Nukeduck on top side, because he's not bringing teleport, so he needs to be on the side with Baron. That's a crucial thing. And then all you want to do is push your lanes, invade topside enemy jungle, kill enemy vision, place your own, and eventually they're going to break. You're going to get a kill. Or you can start a Baron with 2 or 3 players, and they don't react in time. And it's constantly, it's a waiting game. When you overextend a Schalke, that's when you give G2 a chance to get back in the game. So you need to wait for them to try and like sneak a ward in, or oh, maybe you can get a crazy 1v1 somewhere, and then you get punished by 2 or 3 players.
You can see now as well, though, G2 are starting to scale up. You talked about the Infinity Edge. We already have the Rabadon's death cap finished on Hyanan alongside 100 stacks on that Spellbinder. So if they can find the fight, maybe they can do something. But Upset comes down towards the bottom lane with the Realm Warp, and now Wonder is not in good shape at all. Looking for the Morello's Grievous Wounds will proc. Wonder just trying to run his way away from this one. G2 need to do something on the other side of the map, because Wonder is buying them a hell of a load of time. But eventually he will fall to this Schalke death squad in the bottom lane.
That was one of the situations where Schalke were looking for someone who's trying to 1v1 somewhere. Wonder was pushing out his lane. They catch him. They have TPs. They can look for more, but all G2 tried to do here was just get down some wards. See if they can spot a potential Baron being started. Sadly for them, they didn't have a whole lot placed. So Schalke get a kill bottom side. Upset did not need to TP in. He could have just kept everything under control and walked up, because G2 could not start Baron.
Now we do have that Infinity Edge on Perkz, though, so G2 are in an okay position. Black Cleaver finished on Nukeduck. He is a full item ahead. Just still sitting in that top lane, looking to push it out. Got TP on Chachi down towards that bottom side as well if he wants to join this fight.
You already talked about it earlier, Medic. Schalke and Barons, not been a great thing so far in the summer split, and they needed to close out this game here, but G2 are getting the crucial items now. Perkz can actually deal proper damage in a fight. Same for Yanin on this Vladimir. He might actually be the unsung hero of this game. He got a solo kill or 2v2 kill bot lane, and if he gets in, it will be hard to kill. So right now Schalke continue to pressure. They're looking for the mid lane turret.
4-man group here, Wonder not with his team. You can see G2 trying to react. This tower should fall for Schalke. G2 maybe will be able to find a fight if they can get Hyanan in towards that backline, but he's already half HP. Pops the Sanguine Pool. Here's Nukeduck coming in, trying to get the damage down as G2 cannot quite connect with it, but they do get the tower. 5,000 gold ahead at the 25-minute mark. Schalke are doing everything right so far.
Just have to try and secure the big objective before they can fully push into the base. Again, remember guys, the longer the game goes and the more outer turret you take down, the harder it is to execute 1-3-1 split push, because there's suddenly not a lot of room for you to move. The enemy team is just moving in their base. Running from inhib to inhib takes almost no time for G2. Running from a bot lane tier 1 turret far out in a lane and running to their mid lane takes way longer. So it's much easier for Schalke than to actually utilize the split push. Now it gets difficult. G2 can react with 5 players. They're getting vision around Baron. They have the damage, just not the tankiness fully yet. I think an hourglass on Jan is another big thing we're looking at least a stopwatch on his side. Because if he pulls in a fight now, he will suddenly be a target for Nuke Dog right after.
Schalke still fighting for their playoff spot. You have to remember that they are sitting at 6 and 5 at the moment. Vitality, with their win earlier, took sole possession of that 4th spot. But if Schalke can win this game, they are really pushing towards the top of the table. G2 as well need a win to keep up with Fnatic. G2 still searching for an opportunity to fight here. Amazing has the flank, but there's a control ward, so don't think we're going to find the engage yet. Perks goes in on towards Amazing. Nuke Duck waiting in the wings. Watch the Zed. He's the key target here, because Schalke... Oh, it's huge! The 4-man knock-up in the jungle. Nuke Duck comes in, and G2 have nowhere to run. They all flash away from the fight that they began. This is a superb fight for Schalke in the jungle. Upset's going to chase on towards Hjarnan as well, take out his fellow bot laner. And now Schalke can turn their eyes straight towards the Baron.
Oh, Nuke Dog is pretty low with Deed and Wonder going for him.
He's got the flash, he's got the Living Shadow as well if he needs to get away. The rest of Schalke on their way up to try and help out their mid lane.
And we have to look at the death timers here. Still 30 seconds on Hjarnan with the TP, 20 seconds on Perks. Schalke is still around the Baron, but they took a lot of damage in the last fight. They're starting it now. Multiple members joining. Nuke Dog the only one not here yet.
Down to 8,000 HP already. Jankos on his way, but you have to feel this has to be a Did or Wonder steal if G2 are going to stay in this game. Looking for the skewer. Not enough. Schalke get the Baron, and they are 10-1 up over G2.
And we kept talking about how Schalke, they're just trying to stay patient. They're trying to be slow, waiting for G2 to make a mistake. G2 are forcing this fight, and they don't have to. They were doing fine just stalling, but they're going so aggressive for Sejuani with all of Schalke around. In the jungle, Alistar, Rumble ulti, G2 Esports, they grouped as 5. They thought they could catch out a tank, but suddenly everything gets turned around and Schalke get the perfect fight. It was not about Nuke Dog. It was all about Vander and Visichachi in this one. Big play for Schalke. Just what they needed. We kept talking about they still need to get that Baron if they actually want to go in and finish this game here. G2 Esports, you've been very aggressive in a game where you have the late game advantage. They're going to look back in this and be very sad when it comes to some of the calls they've been making.
See Hjarnan trying his hardest to put the team on his back there as well. Over 4,000 damage when no one was even cresting the 1,000 mark. It's an 8,000 gold lead now for Schalke. They have the Baron buff, and they will look to start taking these inhib towers with it.
See if they can get all the way in to the base. If they don't actually get an inhib, then G2 can continue to stall. Not that the wave play is great on their side, but man, Jankos, the one trying to start the fight. I gotta say, it's been one of the worst games he's played all year long. And it's really hurt his team, both early game and now in that big fight in the jungle where it was unnecessary for him to dive forward.
50% of his team's deaths this game. We highlighted him as a key player to watch for G2. Well,
he was a key player
he's been a key player for Schalke in this game. Schalke pushing in towards the bottom lane inhibitor tower and the mid as Chachi goes in. The explosive cast comes out. There's the knock as well, but it's only onto Vander. Upset and Nuke Duck just waiting in the wings. Hjarnan already down.
Chachi
so low. The Glacial Prism into Equalizer, and now Nuke Duck will jump onto the backline. Tick, tick, goes into the stopwatch, but you're not running away from Schalke today. They chase you into your base, and they wipe you off the face of Summoner's Rift. Amazing kills Jankos once again, and G2 have no hope left against Schalke 04.
We got some minions down there in the turret. They're still fighting.
Wonder trying to turn it around. Death from a blow gets one, but now Wonder is next on the menu for Schalke.
He's buying time.
Schalke get everything they wanted in that fight.
So they get in here. They might look for some Nexus turrets as well. We still have 10 seconds on Hjarnan, 25 on Perks. The Baron buff on Schalke's side.
They might just look for the win here, Deficio. One Nexus tower is their first target. Hjarnan up in 3. It would be a monumental performance from him if he could stop Schalke, but they will at least get this second Nexus tower and maybe even the win. Schalke 04 come up huge in this game. Hjarnan tries to do what he can, but Nuke Duck is dominating, and the hype train's back on, baby!
Schalke played this game so well. Watching Nuke Duck on an assassin in the side lane. Memories to the glory days of Nuke Duck.
Toot!
on Lemon Dogs, on a Z, controlling the game. The 1-3-1 setup into playing around the Z lane, waiting for a mistake. And man, G2 Esports, they gave a lot of openings, and credit to Schalke for catching that one and punishing them every single time. That big team fight in the jungle before the Baron, that was exactly what they needed to actually finish this game, because they did everything correct in the first 20 minutes to get a lead, but they still needed a team fight where they could actually win.
I just want to make a note as well as this game wins, Schalke win this game. Because of this win from Schalke, H2K are now eliminated from playoff contention.
What a surprise.
They are locked out of playoff contention. Rocket own the head-to-head against them, so even if they caught up with Rocket on wins, they would not make it into playoffs.
Man, we wanted Schalke to show that they can beat more than just the bottom teams. The 4-0 win streak was broken by Fnatic, but G2 Esports now take down, Schalke now take down G2. 1-1 week when you had Fnatic and G2. Every single team in Europe will be happy with that. They will say, yep, that's exactly what we're looking for. They play Misfits next week, another big game for Schalke. But good early performance. Turning it over to G2 Esports, I'm just going to predict a bunch of tweets coming out already. One of them from Yankees is going to say, I just played the worst game. Another one for G2 saying, that was not a great thing we just did there. Yeah. There were some bad calls, and they got punished by Schalke.
One from NukeDuck saying, the hype train's kind of half back on. Said if they win 2-0 against Fnatic, I think the hype train's back on the menu.
It's not full speed yet, but
it's chugging away. It's chugging away. The player of the game vote is now live as well at LOL Esports on Twitter. You can choose between Toot Toot the Duckman, upset and amazing. Lord Duckington of Nuke.
He picked the Z.
Lord Duck of Nukington.
He picked Z. He got early kills. He did really well in the side lane. And while it wasn't him in the team fights, a lot of it was the early setup of the Z getting ahead. I think Schalke played well as a team. Thank you also for putting Visichachi on a carry.
Yeah, worked out well for them.
There's some pretty good ultis.
He had some incredible ultis.
He's a famous old Rumble player in Europe, and he showed why.
Yeah, he definitely did. G2, on the other hand, probably a little bit dismayed with their performance that game. Jankos specifically, I think we can both agree.
Yeah, I don't want to blame it on a single member, but there was a lot of issues getting caught out. Yeah. And then again, engaging a team fight you never had to engage in. You're stalling, you're scaling, it's perfect. And then you go for just Sejuani in the jungle where you get comboed by Alistar and ulted by a Rumble.
What a game it was to watch. And we're going to hand it over to Law, who is there with Lord Nuke of Duckington.
Well, thank you, Medic, and thank you, NukeDuck, for joining me. I mean, smashing victory today. You bounced back so hard from yesterday. What clicked today that didn't work yesterday?
It was the early game yesterday. Like we just, you know, when we lost the first early fight, and we were so behind, like we had no idea what to do anymore. So we just, we just had a better early game.
And talk me through the early game today. What went right? I mean, Jankos failed a bit, obviously, but what did you do right?
Yeah, I think mostly it was we were top was winning, and support and jungle was playing very well, and then they managed to catch out their jungle a lot actually, and that made everyone ahead basically. So yeah, my team just played really well in the early game. Yeah.
Something made me laugh a bit because I was watching at Perks during Champ and he laughed so hard when you picked Zed. So how confident were you going into this matchup?
Yeah, I wouldn't pick it if I wasn't confident. So yeah, I knew that laning against Yasuo I can do just fine and have more impact in the early mid game, I think. So yeah, I was confident. Yeah,
you had an outstanding performance, and everybody's saying year of the duck, year of the duck. How do you feel about it? Well, how does it make you feel as a player to be praised like this?
You know, it's kind of funny, you know. Caps kind of shut me down a bit yesterday, but you know, maybe we start again now.
Well, nonetheless, congratulations on this one, and we're gonna send it over to Shox for post-game analysis.
Thank you very much, Laure. He was very humble in the interview. I think NukeDuck also knows that, well, they didn't go 2-0, but he should still be very proud of what they showed here today, because it was the big question if Schalke 04 could take down a top team. The answer is a resounding yes. This was a clinic ender.
And it's off the back of a Zed in the mid lane. I can't stress how crazy that is, because this is 2018, people, right? You just don't see this champion played, but NukeDuck said he was very comfortable in the matchup and went for it. it.
And Alvar, you said what they need is to protect Nukeduck and to have a proactive early game, and they listened to you, man.
Yeah, they actually played phenomenally around mid lane. I still can't believe how Alistar can roam faster than Pyke every single time. Like, Alistar was mid lane all the time. If that happened, you just have to play for bot lane, Vladimir and Pyke into Ryze, forcing there, and not forcing in mid lane. Like, you have to understand what the strength of your team is and where to abuse. And I think Jankos this game, he was not on point. The one who was on point was amazing.
Amazing was on point. He heard it. I mean, not to say that he actually heard it, but since yesterday they were down 4,000 gold at 15 minutes, of course, the coaching staff and the players will have realized that they had to pick something that could work early. But there's a difference between picking those champions and picking a Zed versus Yasuo in the mid lane and actually making it work. And I think that's why we need to praise Schalke, because this is still G2.
Yeah, I mean, it's specifically amazing, too, is like walking into the enemy jungle, counter-jungling away the enemy red buff, and it was all because I feel like Schalke had a lot of favorable laners and lane matchups in the early game.
Here, they're going in, and G2 wants to force the fight, but they're just...
Yeah, I think at this point, G2 was so behind that they can't do anything. To be fair, the set versus Yasuo matchup. In the moment Yasuo get the Phantom Dancer, I believe it's a favorable matchup for Yasuo. Probably the Sec 1 tricks can prove me wrong, but I believe Yasuo, in the moment he get the first item, he already beats the 1v1 on a side lane.
Yeah.
So the only thing that G2 had to do is just stall, as Martin said. Like, you just stall the game, wait for Mundo to pick up 2 MR items, and then Mundo's unkillable, and then you have the good split push with Yasuo on a side lane, and you have a good comp. If you fight early game, and you lose early game, that's the only chance that Schalke can win with this comp.
Because fair is fair. You did say after the draft, I don't understand how anyone is going to kill Mundo when it gets later in the game, but kudos then to Schalke that they pushed their advantage and knew that they had to finish the game on a timer, and that for me is really big growth from the squad.
Yeah, I mean, all they had to do was keep finding those fights in the jungle, in the mid-game skirmishes, and when you have Sejuani on your side, it makes it a little bit easier to find those engagements, and it really was amazing leading the charge, and Nukeduck and the rest of the boys dealing with damage.
Also upset on Ryze,
too.
for instance, a critical movement at some points to get people in the right position.
And Vander as well. Vander was roaming all the time to mid lane just to protect the vision from Schalke and don't letting G2 put the vision on River. He was all the time into Jankos, just comboing Jankos and having a free kill for or Sejuani or Zed, and I think that's a player to watch, because I think Vander played phenomenally this game.
Let's take a look at the final fight that drives it home from Schalke 04. As you say it, everyone on the team did their job, and once you have Baron, there's no way really they can stop this push from the side of G2.
I think they snowballed so hard early game Schalke that at some point there is not a single member from G2 that can stop the damage from Schalke coming.
Sorry, the Rumble ult was pretty nice as well. Yeah, it's a charge she had to.
And then they all poured into the base too. They go between all these towers and dive on in because they're just that strong.
Yeah, this is also the problem of Yasuo, right? Like, Yasuo is a champion that if early game you go good and you get some kills, it looks like the champion is unstoppable. If early game you fall behind, it looks literally like the champion is a minion. Like, it does nothing, it does no damage, you have to run away and try to survive because you cannot do anything into enemy comp. So Yasuo is a really snowbally champion, and if you fail into the early game, you're gonna have a minion in the mid lane.
Case in point, the snowball here when we see the gold difference over time and 5.8k damage dealt by Yasuo on the other side. That is not what Perkz wants to do, especially not if it's a skill matchup, Assassin versus Assassin. Annoying. He's not gonna like that. In any case, player of the game, no big surprise. You guys at home voted for Nukeduck with 75% of the votes. He said last week, it's only Year of the Duck if we go 2-0. They went 1-1, but they beat G2, so it's Year of the Chick? What's a baby of a duck called?
Hatchling? I don't know. Chick is a good one.
Duckling.
Duckling.
I
there you
stopped myself
go.
before I said egg. That would be really, really stupid. In any case, the Duckling of Nukeduck, but I don't think he is too worried about Year of the Duck and all those things. I think what the most important thing here is that Schalke had a mission, not go 0-2, definitely, and try and get a win against one of the top 3 teams in Europe. And I think now they have something to build on. If they can craft a composition, if they can win a game like this and make up points in the standings, they've got a good thing going for the next couple of weeks.
I think it's really important since Schalke won this matchup. Right now, we're going to have a Splice, and if a Splice lose the next matchup, they're going to be so far away from the playoffs. Because Rocket and Vitality are going to, I mean, Rocket is going to be already 1 game ahead of them, and the next 2 upcoming teams that are Schalke and Vitality are 2 games ahead of them. So it's going to be really hard for Splice to come back from this. And Schalke just did what they had to do, at least beating one of the top teams that we didn't believe they could do since today. Like we thought, yeah, they can beat all the lower tier teams, but what about the top teams? They will never beat them.
And just as an aside, or actually a very important thing in the standings, H2K can no longer make playoffs officially. Now, they were already in dire straits, but because of Schalke, this is how the numbers work out. So we won't be seeing H2K in playoffs, but we most likely we'll see more of Schalke in the next couple of weeks, and they've definitely taken a huge step towards those playoffs today. Now we're going to take a quick break, but in a few minutes, Ender and myself will tell you why Hans Sama and Mickey X are possibly the best bot lane in Europe. We'll be back for Misfits versus Splice right after this.
Within his roamed in, but he gets knocked up straight away.
Nukeduck's
Ignited! Nukeduck looking for the kill, the flash! Death mark! Schalke get first blood. The year of the Nukeduck is back, baby! On his way as well, there's the equalizer. The stun lock on Jankos is effective, and he gets burnt to a crisp. He's the key target here, because Schalke...
Oh, it's huge!
The four-man knock-up in the jungle. Nukeduck comes in, and G2 have nowhere to run. They all flash away. And Schalke null fear come up huge in this game. Janen tries to do what he can, but Nukeduck is dominating.